a blind teenage girl placed her hands on Michael Jackson's face in front of 20,000 people. What she sensed through her fingertips made the king of pop collapse in tears. 5 words she whispered that night would haunt him until his final breath. August 26, 1988. Madison Square Garden pulses with the energy of 20,000 beating hearts. Michael Jackson owns this stage, moving through the Bad World Tour with the precision of a machine wrapped in human skin. Sequined glove-catching spotlight. Fedora tilted just so. Every move calculated, every breath measured, every smile rehearsed to perfection. But something is fracturing beneath the polish. Front row, seat C7. A teenage girl named Emma Chen sits motionless while chaos erupts around her. Born without sight, she experiences concerts differently than everyone else. Where others see spectacle, Emma hears truth. Tonight, threading through the thunderous bass and shrieking fans, she detects something in Michael's voice that makes her chest tighten. A hairline crack in the armor, pain leaking through perfection. But these aren't tears of joy. Emma is crying because she hears something nobody else can hear. The voice coming through those speakers is drowning. Backstage 30 minutes earlier, Michael's hands won't stop shaking. And what happens next will prove that the biggest performance of the night hasn't even started yet. Michael's dressing room, mirrors reflecting a face he barely recognizes anymore. The vitiligo is spreading faster than makeup can hide. Tabloid headlines scream lies from every newsstand. The man in the mirror looking back at him seems like a stranger wearing his skin. Michael Peters, his choreographer, and one of the few people allowed to see him vulnerable, watches Michael stare at his reflection without blinking. The king of pop is supposed to go on stage in 20 minutes, but right now, Michael Jackson looks like he's about to break into pieces. Peters has seen Michael at his worst, but tonight feels different. Michael's hands are trembling. When Peters places a hand on his shoulder, Michael flinches like he's been struck. The 5-minute call comes. Michael rises, adjusts his fedora, and transforms. The mask slides into place so smoothly that if you blinked, you'd miss the man disappearing beneath the icon. He walks toward the stage entrance, and Peters watches him go, wondering if anyone in that arena will see what he sees. Someone will. Michael explodes onto stage in a symphony of smoke and strobe lights. The crowd detonates. But in the front row, one girl remains perfectly still, and the reason why will stop this entire show in its tracks. Bad, smooth criminal, the way you make me feel. Michael moves through his set with mechanical perfection, but Emma hears what 20,000 screaming fans miss. Every held note trembles just slightly. Every breath catches before release. The voice pouring through the speakers is technically flawless, but emotionally it's sending out distress signals. Emma has always been able to hear emotions that others overlook. Music to her isn't entertainment, it's emotional X-ray vision. And tonight, what she's seeing terrifies her. The arena dims. A single spotlight finds Michael at center stage. This is the moment in every show where the energy shifts, where the performer stops entertaining and starts revealing Man in the Mirror, the most personal song in his catalog, the one he can never sing without feeling like he's stripping himself bare in front of strangers. As the opening piano notes drift across the arena, Michael scans the crowd out of habit. Thousands of faces blur together into one massive, hungry need. Everyone wanting a piece of him. Everyone screaming for the icon while the human being inside slowly suffocates. Then his eyes catch on something that doesn't fit the pattern. A girl in the front row isn't screaming, isn't reaching, isn't performing her fandom like everyone else. She's just listening with an intensity that feels like it's reaching inside his chest. And what Michael is about to discover will change everything he thought he knew about being seen. Emma's face is tilted upward, tears streaming down her cheeks. But these tears are different from the hysterical crying happening all around her. These tears look like grief, like recognition, like someone watching a beautiful bird slowly dying in a cage. Michael keeps singing, but he can't look away from this girl. Her stillness pulls at him like gravity. While 20,000 people scream at the performer, this one girl seems to be crying for the person. Then Michael notices her eyes. They're open but unfocused, staring at nothing. The realization hits him like a physical blow. She's blind. All she has is his voice. And somehow, through just his voice, she's hearing everything he spent his entire career trying to hide. The song ends. Instead of transitioning to his next number, Michael does something he's never done in his entire professional career. He stops the show. His hand rises, signaling his band to wait. 20,000 people sense something unusual happening and begin to quiet. Michael walks to the edge of the stage and points directly at Emma. Not at the crowd, not at the section, at her specifically, at this girl who can't even see him pointing. Michael's finger extends toward Emma like he's reaching across an impossible distance. Security moves to help her navigate the stairs, and suddenly, this blind teenage girl is standing on the biggest stage in the world, utterly exposed in front of an arena full of strangers. She's shaking so badly she can barely stand. Michael kneels at the edge of the stage platform, bringing himself down to her eye level even though she can't see the gesture. Then he does something that will be captured by every camera in the building and replayed for decades. He takes Emma's hands in his own, gently, like he's handling something sacred, and he guides her trembling fingers to his face. What Emma discovers through her fingertips in the next 60 seconds will shatter Michael's carefully constructed walls and prove that sometimes being truly seen has nothing to do with vision. 20,000 people watch in absolute silence as Emma's fingers begin their exploration. She traces his eyebrows with the reverence of someone reading scripture, follows the bridge of his nose like it's a roadmap to understanding, feels the sharp architecture of his cheekbones, the strong line of his jaw. When her fingertips find his eyes, she pauses, because beneath her fingers, she feels moisture. Michael Jackson is crying. Her fingertips trace the outline of his lips, and for the first time in years, Michael realizes he's being touched by someone who isn't trying to take something from him. Emma isn't grabbing, isn't demanding, isn't treating him like a prize to be won. She's trying to understand him. When Emma finishes her exploration, she doesn't pull away. Her hands rest lightly on Michael's face, and in that moment of stillness, something passes between them that 20,000 people can feel but can't quite name. Then Emma leans close, so close that her lips nearly brush his ear. 5 words, whispered so quietly that the microphones barely catch them. But the few people close enough to hear will carry those words with them forever. She doesn't tell him he's talented, doesn't gush about his fame, doesn't ask for anything. Instead, she speaks 5 words that cut through every layer of performance and pretense and protection Michael has spent his lifetime building. 5 words that acknowledge the thing he's spent his entire career hiding. 5 words that give him permission to stop pretending. The moment Emma's whisper reaches Michael's ear, his entire body goes rigid. For 3 heartbeats, he doesn't breathe, doesn't move. The arena holds its breath with him, 20,000 people suspended in collective anticipation. Then Michael Jackson, the most controlled performer in the history of modern music, completely breaks down, not gracefully, not carefully, not in any way that can be edited or smoothed over later. He crumples forward, his forehead pressing against Emma's shoulder, and sobs. Deep, wrenching sounds that the microphones carry to every corner of the arena. The king of pop crying like a child who's been given permission to finally admit he's hurt. Emma wraps her arms around him without hesitation. This blind girl holding this broken superstar while 20,000 people witness the moment the performance finally, completely ends. And what replaces it is something far more powerful. Something raw and human and real. When Michael finally pulls back, his face is streaked with tears and smeared makeup, every carefully constructed illusion destroyed, and somehow, impossibly, he's never looked more beautiful. Because for the first time in decades, people aren't looking at Michael Jackson, the performer. They're seeing Michael Jackson, the human being. Michael returns to his position at the microphone. No wiping away the tears, no fixing the makeup, no rebuilding the armor. He starts man in the mirror again from the beginning, but this time, every wall is down, every pretense is gone. This isn't a performance anymore. This is confession. This is therapy. This is a man finally admitting to 20,000 strangers that he's not okay, and he hasn't been okay for a very long time. Emma remains on stage, standing beside him with one hand resting lightly on his arm. Michael's voice pours out raw and unfiltered, every crack and waver and moment of imperfection left completely exposed. And somehow, it's the most beautiful thing anyone in that arena has ever heard. Because for once, they're not listening to a superhuman. They're listening to one of them. When Michael reaches the final chorus, something unprecedented happens. Emma begins to hum along, then quietly sing. Her voice is untrained, imperfect, nothing like the polished sound people expect from a Michael Jackson concert. But when her voice blends with his, 20,000 people feel like they're witnessing something sacred. Two voices, one belonging to the biggest star on the planet, one belonging to a girl who's never performed before, creating something together that's more honest than any professional production could ever be. The song ends. The arena erupts. But this applause sounds different from the screaming adulation Michael is used to. This sounds like gratitude, like relief, like 20,000 people collectively realizing they've just witnessed someone finally show them the truth. Before Emma leaves the stage, she removes a small silver bracelet from her wrist, a gift from her grandmother, her most precious possession. She presses it into Michael's palm and closes his fingers around it. Emma can't see his face, but she can feel him trying to refuse, trying to give it back. She wraps both her hands around his and squeezes once, firmly. The gesture communicates what words never could. She pressed his hand once, a silent promise passing between them, to keep it, to remember, to stay human. After the concert, Michael spends the rest of the night with Emma and her family. The crew keeps trying to move him along to his next obligation, but Michael refuses. For 2 hours, he sits in his dressing room, makeup still streaked, still wearing the bracelet Emma gave him, talking with this blind teenager about music and pain and the impossible weight of being seen by everyone while being understood by no one. From that night forward, everyone in Michael's inner circle noticed the change. He stopped hiding his struggles quite so carefully, started letting people see the cracks. The bracelet Emma gave him never leaves his wrist. It's photographed at every subsequent concert, every appearance, every moment he's captured on film for the rest of his career. When Michael dies in 2009, the bracelet is found on his bedside table, beside a handwritten note that simply reads, "Being watched is not the same as being seen. MJ." Emma becomes a music therapist, using her gift of hearing emotional truth through sound to help others heal from trauma they can't articulate. In 2015, she establishes a foundation providing music therapy to children who, like her, experience the world differently than everyone else. The story of that night in Madison Square Garden spreads through the music community like wildfire, not because Michael Jackson invited a fan on stage. Performers do that all the time, but because for once, a performer let themselves be truly vulnerable in front of 20,000 people. And in doing so, he gave them permission to be vulnerable too. Michael Jackson performed for millions during his career, stadiums full of screaming fans, arenas packed with people who would have done anything just to touch him. But on August 26, 1988, a blind girl who couldn't see his face saw him more clearly than anyone in his entire life. and with 5 whispered words, she set him free. Want more untold stories of quiet kindness? Like, subscribe and tell us. Who once saw the real you?